Alright, what are we up to today? Well, I'm kneeling down in front of a trailer, and this trailer is a custom built one that's copped quite a hiding. In fact, I only just nearly wiped out my number plate again yesterday. Can't seem to stop reversing into it. Some of the other damage I have done with this trailer as I've managed to bend the jockey wheel, something chronic, and I've even bent this whole frame up to the point where I had the manufacturers of this trailer actually put a bigger jack on for me. Because I found that while I originally hadn't intended to, I'm actually loading the Argo with this trailer unhitched, so I needed this extra foot. And also this wheel, while I originally had intended to run it on concrete only, I'm finding on dirt a lot, and I had to move it with the Argo when it was sunk into the dirt at one point, and it sunk in, and the act of getting it out is what bent it. So I'm going to pull this whole thing off and put much bigger one on, and it's a solid rubber wheel, not a pneumatic one, but it's a bigger diameter. Now, problem I've got, these little nylocks that are normally easy to get to, the way they built this, they've actually put the bolts in the other way around, so the nylocks are in underneath. So I've got a good hour or so of 1/8 turns with a spanner, because these are nylocks. But yeah, we'll see if we can get this one off, and hopefully we can put this one on. Otherwise, I'm going to have to improvise a bit. Alright, now this is where I get dirty. I lay in the mud. This is something I can't really do anymore. Close. Right. Okay, let's pick up all the spare bits in case we need to adapt the new one to the old one and the bolts don't fit or something silly. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts and 1, 2, 3 nuts. Typical. It's going to be not far from here. There's the 4th nut. So I'm just going to have to get my big magnet again. Right. Alright, and we can see here I made the right call in pulling this off, because I've bent this frame as well. And I've bent the wheel and I bent the frame, and the whole thing is pretty shagged. I did a decent job of it. However, this bracket, however, is nice and straight, which is good. Now let's see if we can adapt to the new one to the old frame. Right, so I can see here, I can probably get into it. This one's a 3-bolt one. The old one is a 4-bolt. So I am going to need that flange, and I may need to drill another hole. Anyway, I'll get this disassembled and we'll see what we can do with it. Alright, so we're close but still no cigar. So this is the new fittings, this is the old fitting, and I can pretty well use that and this in place of those two. This one is probably just big enough to fit over here and do the job. That will work. This one is a touch small. It's going to bounce around in here. I could probably drill a couple of holes in this in the correct positioning. The interesting thing is going to be if I put this on, this will be a little loose, but it will still do the job as a jockey wheel, and it's not going to come loose. And I guess it doesn't need to be sort of that concentric. It's just a fair bit of work to put those nuts back on, but it's also equally as much work to drill those out. So I'll have a think. Alright, so after a bit of thinking, I realized that if I bolt these in, this bit's not going to rotate strictly concentrically, which means these pins might not line up as easy. So I guess if I'm going to do that, I might as well have a crack at drilling the holes in this guy first, and see if I can get it right, and if I can't, then I'll just whack that one in. Seems like the most prudent course of action. Just my pedestal drill isn't great, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alright, so we're going to use a dirty rag on my bench to stop all this grease getting in everything. We've got to mark our holes out. So, flip this guy out, and that will get pretty concentric. We can use that to sort of get it positioned right, but I think that's actually going to be interesting, because I need to realign those holes a bit too for that to be perfectly concentric, which is going to be a bit of work to get these two out the right size. It's almost easier to cut a new piece of steel. So on the face of it, it's not going to be as simple as drilling 2 more holes. These guys aren't going to be quite right. You know what, I might test fit this just with 2 bolts and see how easy it is to line up. And if it's easy to line up, then I won't bother with this. Yeah, because that's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of drilling. I know it's only mild steel, but it's a lot of effort for my little drill press. But then I'm going to be here with a round file for about 3 weeks. It's just crazy. So let's test fit this and see what happens. What the hell? Right, well, I've got it temporarily positioned with a piece of coat hanger wire holding everything on, and this should allow me to push it into position close enough to get some bolts in. It's going to be a bit tricky and it's a bit frustrating, but yeah. And then once I'm done, I'm going to have to find a way to get grease in here. I don't want to add grease right now, but I think it might actually probably help me get the nuts and bolts in. I'm just going to get horribly dirty. So if I put grease on, I'm going to do that in a single cut, because I won't want to touch my camera once I've got grease on my hands. So this might be a silent time-lapse bit with a bit of pretty music on it. I'll see how we go. Alright, so I've run into a slight little issue. My fat fingers and my spanner and everything can't get this top nut into position, so I can't get the vertical 2 nuts in. And until I rotate it, I can't do the side 2 nuts, but I can't rotate it until I do the side 2 bolts. So, the top nut, I'm going to stick a little tiny magnet to, and hope I can stick it in up there somewhere with a little magnet, and I'll just leave the magnet in there. With luck, it'll stay in position well enough that I can thread the that bolt in with my fingers. Let's see if we can get it up in here. And it's sticking into everything else. It wants to stick to everything else, and my magnet definitely wants to stay in there. Alright, I'll give it some thought and I'll come back, because on camera I'm feeling a bit pressured here, so I'll nut this out and hopefully I'll make less mistakes off camera. Alright, I'm just going to show you where I'm at. I'm using the magnet to hold the nut in the spanner. Hopefully this works. Alright, I had to get up to put my tools away because I had a splash of rain. I laid back down and I got massive head spins. Never used to have this before the multiple sclerosis. I don't know which way's up. You get so far with these things and then barrier hits. And it was a bright sunny day, and now it's going to piss down rain. Yay! Alright, so the magnet trick worked. And I got 2 bolts in. But now I want to move this up until it aligns in this direction. And easier said than done. I'm going to try and push it up so that it pushes everything in line nicely and clicks in. Which could be the problem I'm going to have using this as a jockey wheel. Oh. with that alignment not being strictly correct. There we go. Right. Now hopefully I can line things up a little better here. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. I'm hoping to pull everything up just so it aligns a little bit better. There we go, I can see that realigning. Where's the bolt I wanted to use? Oh. And there's a nut. Oh, story of my life, losing nuts and bolts. There's a third one in the, there's a fourth one that's in there. Alright. Can I get this with my fingers? There's my magnet. Or it might be a magnet trick for these two as well. Right. Give me a minute to scrounge around the grass and find the rest of the nuts. Alright, so I'm short one nut, and that's actually going to throw a spanner in the works. Literally, I guess. Or not literally, if I can't find it. So, I have a gigantic magnet here, but hopefully I should be able to find some stuff. Namely, the missing nut. Wow. That's fun. NFI where that nut has gone. I don't have to go up the street just to get one nut, but I may have to. I mean, I have two nuts, but not one of this, not the fourth one of this correct size. Alright, can see. So I have a theory about that missing nut. I put the jockey wheel down. Oh, it's compressed into the ground, the least likely place. Alright, got all four of the bolts in, and the thing does shift a little bit, as expected, but I can get it out, and the tolerance is enough that I can actually operate this pretty much as intended. It's actually probably a little easier than the other one, probably because of all the grease I've put in here. But crucially, it drops into this hole nicely, so it'll lock. Now I can wind it down. Now, previously, if I tried to move this with any kind of weight on it, like the Argo that's on it right now, I would have problems. But we're going to see how we go. This jacked off the ground a bit. See if we can move it. Now, in case you're not a regular subscriber, this is the normal tow vehicle, and that's my backup tow vehicle. And this is what we carry on the trailer. It's an 8-wheel drive amphibious vehicle. And yeah, it weighs about 540 kilos. And this trailer is all custom made out of check plate, even the mud guards. So it gets up there a bit as well. So we're almost at 1 ton with the whole lot. Hence the override brakes that I'm going to put some grease in a minute. But let's see if we can shift this thing around. Alrighty. I can move it. And it rolls around. And the jockey wheel actually spins. That's a whole lot more than I could do before, and we're in a bit of a depression. But jockey wheel success. I'm happy. Gonna wind that down onto the jack now. All right, bit of grease in here. Where's my rag? My rag was stuck between that giant magnet and the spanners, predictably. I didn't think about where I put it down. Right. Awesome. we're good. Right. Put my magnet back somewhere safe. Right. Always put your stuff back where it came from. Right. Alright, well, we're back at the desk. Jockey wheels on. I've got a whole list of other stuff to do. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to get to first, but I think I'm going to have to tackle that Jeep and the alternator very soon, and I really don't like looking forward. I'm not looking forward to that Jeep. I can't even talk properly. 2012 Jeep Liberty, also known as a Jeep Cherokee Limited in Australia. Alternator's gone. Simple job normally, but it's a Jeep, so you got to remove everything. We'll figure that out. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video.